The ultimate journey. Episode 37. Hi, and welcome to The Ultimate Journey, Awakening to Spirit podcast. I'm your host, Frank DeGeneva. Today's episode is called Polarity in Relationships. This episode comes with a warning, as you may be triggered by the information presented here, and it may be polarizing as well, in line with the polarity in relationships. As you know by now that this podcast is not gospel. It is opinions, ideas, and a way to open up your mind for critical thinking and just seeing other vantage points. So I want to get that out of the way before we continue on. In a nutshell, this episode deals with polarity, feminine and masculine energy. And I like to use a magnet as an example of this to simplify it. You have the North Pole and you have the South Pole. When you have the two poles that are together, they repel each other, and the opposite poles attract each other. So there's resistance and there's magnetism, hence polarity. The irony with this episode is that my next guest is my first male guest I've ever had on. In the past, I've always had, for whatever reasons, female guests. So without further ado, let me introduce David Miller. How you doing, David?
I'm awesome, Frank. It's so good to be here with you.
Likewise, I'm so happy this happened. I mean, what a journey it was to get to this point. But first, before we get on to this podcast, I'd love for you to say who you are and what you do, and so the listener can figure out what's going on here.
Yeah, sure, Frank. My name is David Miller, and what I do is I guess you would call it relationship counseling, and I've actually labeled myself as a relationship expert since this has unfolded, because we my partner in crime, Zach Rohde, and Mark Benet, we work together as well with Mark. We've sort of unpacked I like to call it the golden goose of relationships. It's everything that we've heard up to this time in our human history has just been distorted. And a lot of relationship counselors and coaches are seriously emasculating men. And we've got a plan to put that industry straight. It's probably the easiest way to put it.
Awesome. Thank you. And the how I want to say how we got connected today was a Facebook friend of mine from Australia who I haven't met, because I'm into the other groups and I'm into the spiritual stuff too, which we will probably get into, and how spirituality and being masculine is a challenge there. Somebody posted one of your group's posts about masculinity and femininity. I'm like, whoa. Oh, I said, this just kind of like really resonated on a deep level, because there's a lot of aha moments and realizations that I've had recently, and just my whole life, but they just, everything came into place. And I saw the group, and then I saw Zach's book, and I ordered Zach's book. Don't Let Her Lead It. Is that what it's called? I think, from memory.
That's one of them. Yeah.
And I fired through that. And then I heard Mark in a podcast with a woman, and I said, "This is great, man." And then you were there, and then I said, "Well, I saw that you were." Can I say where you live?
Yeah, I don't mind. I live in Fergus.
Yeah, you're in Fergus. It's like, oh, he's in Fergus, and then Zach's in Toronto area, and I'm like, I'm in Toronto. I'm like, this is great. And then obviously Mark is the U.S. representation, right? And I thought,
he's not far though. He's just on the other side of the border.
So we have the 49th. So interesting. And you had made video speech of a coach, and they you said that the person got it right on, but they missed a few steps or whatever. And then I just decided, I said, hey, I inboxed you. I slipped you a DM, bromance. And I just said, hey, it's like, great video. And then, we connected as friends, and we shared some stuff. So I'm really, really excited about what and we can, pull together, and then we can have the listener, guide to. So did you want to say, lead our listener to where your group is, or do you want to just, I don't, it's up to you.
Yeah. You can find, I'm working on my own website called Relationship Realities. And I'll have a YouTube channel coming up soon, probably in the next month. And it'll take me a while, but I'll be posting regular videos talking about this stuff, probably at least 5 a week, maybe once a day. I'll put a short video up. And the intention is to just spread the word, try and get people involved and realizing the difference between what's been thought of as normal up until recently and what Zach and Mark and I are sharing. And right now, the best way to watch, like I'm on Facebook, so David Miller, I put my personal page, and then I also have a business page called Relationship Realities, but I haven't been focusing on that because I'm not getting much exposure there.
Not yet.
So
not yet.
Yeah, that's
It'll
right.
happen.
That's right. But it's Zach Rohde is so it's ZAK RE. Wait a minute, ROEDDE, I think. But his website is relationshipofyourdreams.com. And mine is registered, but there's no site yet. It's relationshiprealities.com. So I'll be working on that gradually over the next few months. But we've got coursework. We're helping mostly women. Zach's working on a course with Mark right now for men. And I know that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see how that turns out. But
the dominance one?
Yeah.
That's good. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. I wish I was involved in that. I'm a little envious, but Mark wasn't involved in the courses we did for women. So it's like, it makes sense, but so I've got a couple of courses coming up myself that are just sort of like mini courses for emotional regulation. And there's another one. I don't really know what to call it yet. So but they'll show up when they're ready.
Yeah, that's great. So thank you for that, David. And, this is a very polarizing, to be pun intended, topic, because a lot of people are triggered with the information and the material that you guys present and what I'm experimenting in my own life, which is pretty wild, David, because I'm getting a lot of good success and just carrying myself and, standing in my masculinity. And it's like it takes people by surprise. I'm saying women, more or less. And there's resistance, but there's not. There's almost like an underlying respect there. So I'm kicking tires still. I'm not right into it. So I'm not going to pretend to know. But I'd like to share something quickly from me, is that when I was younger, I was, as a teenager, I was like a wild and I wouldn't say toxic, but it was a lot of anger issues. I was drinking a lot, and I was in a toxic masculinity, and I was attracted to the nail polish, the high heels, the lace, the very feminine type of woman. And I've had, and then things have happened in my life, and then there's a point where, my former wife, as my mother, were both very dominant in their masculinity. Like, they were both strong women. And then I reverted to the women that weren't so feminine. It was more masculine, like strong. I thought it was confidence. I took that as confidence. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't give a shit about the nail polish and the high heel. I did still, but I wanted a woman without the makeup, ponytail, no makeup, running shoes, t-shirt, and just, punch in the arm and have a beer with, because I wasn't in my masculinity. I lost it. And I think I did that because of the strong mother that I had and the former wife. I was basically seeking approval, and I didn't lead. But now, coming and feminine women were like, they felt so dainty and like victims and like just weak in a way. But now I can see through that. And you talk about radiance, which we'll get into. And now I'm attracted to a feminine, because I was chasing the goddess, right? I'm in the spirituality, and I was like always just trying to chase this powerful woman. I'm like, and then, it was playing into all what you're saying about all the coaches that are doing now, where it's like power, women power. And that's what we're going to touch on today. And So yeah, I just want to give you a little bit of that. And yeah, so what do you want to say about that? And before we get on,
Oh yeah, I had my similar journey. My mom was very feminine, but then she got masculinized because of my dad.
yeah,
Yeah, she. It took my brother actually reminding me. I have an older brother, and he started to remind me of the way she used to be before the event happened. And my dad was an ass, and
yeah,
he was a tyrant. So um, he had a little bit of a problem with his own emotions,
hmm,
and well, a little bit of a problem. It was pretty severe, and my mom was just kind of like a doormat.
yeah,
So she was feminine, but she wasn't integrated in her masculine.
right,
And she had the ability to carry masculine traits. Like she was a good mom, and that's got a masculine essence to it of its in and of itself. And when it came to taking care of stuff, like she was a hard worker. So she had a career, and she looked after her garden and did all kinds of stuff around the house. That was that was her way of getting away from my dad, I guess.
right.
But 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 she became masculinized after this event because she got really badly hurt,
Yeah,
um, mentally and emotionally hurt. And so that was the mother I remembered. And
right.
there's this thing that's common in psychology where they say you marry your mother unless you have
Which I
like
did.
unless
Yeah,
you yeah, me too. And so it was this amazing setup of circumstances that led me to the understanding that I have now. But it took me, uh, my wife was my first really long term relationship, and my ex wife, I should say, clear that up. And then I had another. I think it was 5.5 years with a woman after my marriage ended, and then I had a short. I think it was about 15 or 16 months with a very feminine woman. And I couldn't get anywhere near a feminine woman until I did a certain amount of my own work, my
right.
own healing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
We
I
we have a
was,
similar we have a similar timeline. Like was married for 10 years with my former. I like to say former. Somebody told me don't say ex, but whatever, former. And then I had a 4 year relationship, and then a 6 month after that. So, but they were all kind of masculine. But yeah, we have a similar type of long, then
yeah,
short, and then really short.
yeah,
Sorry, I cut you off,
yeah.
man. I just wanted to kind of.
No, it's okay. I like to hear it. But yeah, this woman, this feminine woman, was a very like you could easily call it a soulmate relationship. Like
Yeah,
she and I had a very similar soul signature. Like I couldn't tell the difference between how she felt and how I felt.
yeah,
And that was like the first time in my life I'd ever come across somebody like that. And she was so beautiful inside. Like she was pretty, but
yeah.
she was beautiful. And I just, I mean, I was in love with her before I even knew I was in love with her.
Wow, that's wild.
She was my best friend, and I wanted to talk to her every day. She lived on the other side of the world, and so it turned into this stupid long distance relationship until I can get her on a plane and get her ass over here
Yeah,
to Canada to stay with me. But it was, um, she lived here with me for 15 months, but we were together for about 3 years,
nice.
like connected together. And devotion surfaced out of it. Like I cared for her so much that, and because she was feminine, I was able to tune into her feelings. I could feel everything she felt on the other side of the world.
Okay, that's a totally soul connection right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I knew if she was happy or sad or if she was
Wow.
dancing. Like she was a belly dancer, and I could tell when she was dancing.
Wow. So
Like,
well, that's amazing. So yeah, total
yeah,
connection.
yeah. And so my heart just wanted to take care of her because she was so, like you say, that daintiness, that that softness, you know.
Right.
It was like it inspired me to just be a better man.
Yes. When a woman is radiant that way, we just step up, like we rise to the occasion as men. There's a weird shift in volume here. Can you still hear me?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. Now, getting into the feminine that becomes the masculine. When we'll get into that, because we're just talking. The listeners not really getting what we're going to say yet, but we're just going to give people a little bit of our story in that. I feel women go into the masculine because either one of trauma, which we all have some sort of trauma, so I'm not singling anyone out, and or when men drop the ball and they have to pick up the slack, they have to be the masculine, they have to then become the mother, and they become the leader, which and then the guys tune out, and it just goes to shit, right?
Yeah, it bounces back and forth until every relationship like that will either be misery. There'll be some level of suffering, but most of the time it turns into misery and failure.
And that's exactly, it's all hunky dory in the beginning. And, that's what leads me to my next point is the whole, because I was on another group and they posed a question and I said about masculine and feminine. And then the other woman piped in and said, talk about polarity, the fluid polarity of that, and and like how that works, and in gay relationships, how does that work when you have? Because we all have masculine and feminine within ourselves, right? One is dominant, one is integrated, one is kind of there, kind of being the compass. But sometimes they become inverted, and now that's my first off is like when you have a woman that's a strong woman, that is empowered, is masculated, wants to lead, wants to do the outcomes, wants to do all those things, and believes in a woman should be empowered and strong when they defend what we're talking about. How does that work in the gay relationships? And I just wanted to say the person, I think she goes by her pronouns. She went by he, she, her, talking to me about the marine life, about this, the clownfish, how the male takes in the maternal, and then I was going to say about the seahorse, how, and I said, you know what, forget it, I'm not going to get into there. We all have our own views, but so how does the fluidity of polarity? I don't believe that it's legit. I think, we all have free will, and I feel that whatever two consenting adults do, you can have a fluidity between the polarities and the genders. Now, that, as you said, is not going to always work, and it's going to lead to suffering, and so. But I believe everyone should have their experience in life, and I know in my life it hasn't worked. So how do you feel about that, David? I know I threw a lot at you, but
no, that's okay. I appreciate the question a lot because it's very important. Because first of all, we're not clownfish
or seahorses.
We're much more complicated beings than that, and much more evolved, much more developed. And we have personalities, we have psyches, we have consciousness that's, I would guess, I don't have any evidence of it, but well beyond any other animal on the planet, other than maybe the dolphin. I'm not sure about those creatures. They're pretty fascinating. But regardless, we're human beings. And we actually have, with the exception of hermaphrodites, which I believe have both genitalia.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. I haven't studied it.
I think so. And then eunuchs don't have any genitalia.
Eunuchs have been castrated.
Yeah, exactly. The royalty, Game of Thrones fans.
Yeah. So the thing about you're either born, unless you're a hermaphrodite, you're either born with male genitalia or feminine genitalia. And I stay out of anything other than heterosexual relationships. Trigger
warning. This is a trigger warning. Okay, so continue, man.
Yes. As soon as somebody wants to identify as something other than the gender that they were born, then I can't help them, because it's not that I don't want to. It's just I can't understand it.
Okay, that's an honest answer.
I don't have any experience in it. So to me, polarity is based on the physical gender.
Okay.
So if you were born with a penis and you're a man, and your nature is going to be mostly masculine. Now, when somebody's a homosexual, then they might. I've met masculine homosexual guys. I've met feminine homosexual guys. I can't say what's right for them, because that's a man and a man coming together. Lesbians is a woman coming together. So I don't know if I've never met a couple that is gay in any form. Excuse me, I don't really know how to speak properly about these things.
It's okay. I mean, you're honest and you're being authentic, and that's what I respect and appreciate here.
Yeah, I've never met a couple that was completely healthy, so I don't have an example.
Yeah,
I wish I had, because I would be calling them up and saying, "Hey, I want to talk about polarity with you."
Right.
So maybe I could learn and help them too, but I just don't have any experience with them. So I focus on heterosexual couples.
Okay,
because
that makes sense. Yeah.
So it's a man and a woman. It's tab A going into slot A.
Right. Okay.
Like,
and
it's
then the chemistry that's involved with that too, right? So, when I brought that up, I mean, I've being a hairstylist and having my dad's salon downtown and going to hairdressing school, I've been very saturated with the community, LGBTQ2S+ and all that stuff. I even have a radio show that I do on a FM with a co-host. She's a fellow hairdresser and great friend, and she's lesbian. And, I have a lot of reference points and a lot of experience with that. So, I mean, I guess maybe I didn't really know, and that's great. We didn't, rehearse this. This is all real stuff and responses. If you're born into a female body and you identify as a male, like I just wondered personally if those polarities still apply, right? So, and I don't know, like I'd have to talk to my friend about that and see, because it'd be kind of cool to have a threesome talk next time you, me, and this person.
Yeah. The only reference that I have is my own experience in my own body.
Yeah.
So I've always been heterosexual. I've never had any homosexual tendencies. Never had any attraction towards a man. But I have had a reverse in my own polarity.
As have I, yes. Okay. Yeah.
So I knew that when I became, I too was involved in the spiritual community. Like I learned Reiki in 1994 before anybody knew about it.
I'm 92 or 91 myself. So yeah, we're the same path, right? I don't even know you, David. And
right.
I became a Reiki master on top of that. Right?
Yeah. And so it was like, I don't hold much value in Reiki anymore, but it certainly was a good thing for me to get in tune with my body.
Absolutely.
To understand my own energy and how it moves and how I feel, like just body awareness, because I had none.
Right.
Unless I stubbed my toe.
Yeah, then you're in your body, right? Be one with the body. It's like, because you can't deal with the freaking pain.
Right.
Yeah, interesting that you bring that up, David, because with myself, I got right into the feminine. I was always the only guy into spiritual meetups and the Reiki, and I took intuition classes, and I went to Sedona with a group of women. I was always the guy, right? And holding that space was like, whoa. But what I've learned through spirituality, I mean, you won't get laid. And I'm not trying, this is relationship, but this is like also a polarity. You won't get laid if you start doing Reiki. Like, I mean, I just like, I feel energy is like, okay, friend zone right away. But getting like in all seriousness, I found that my journey is, this for all the people that are spiritual and know about energy. I took my awareness from my lower chakras, raised it up to the heart center, and then up, connected to, the third eye and the crown, and became that feminine in the spirituality. And then what has been happening lately is I come back down and I put my energy back down to my balls, right? like back to the testicle. Like, we joked about when we tested the, testicle, when Elmo has a testicle. And I had to integrate back. I had to come back down to my, as Mark Benet says, truth cock. Get back down to the masculine. But the journey that I walked by, I can actually be, have an emotional, an EQ, an emotional intelligence, because I've been there. I felt, I'm intuitive. I can read people. I do energy. I can feel stuff. But that took over. And my aha moment was when I went to it was a convention center. I had a booth there, and I was selling my books because I'm an author of 2 books as well. And I found that it was my aha moment where the spiritual men were very feminized, effeminate. And I'm thinking, how can a woman get turned on and become charged sexually? Maybe in the beginning, you kind of like, oh, they're kind of nice, they're safe, but then it's safe. And it's like, you know what I mean? The Fabio and the kind of, and that's why I'm going to get back to the jerk when I was growing up, is the jerk, the girls go always after the jerks and the idiots because they were closer into their masculinity, even though they were toxic, than a nice guy who would hi and I just want to be your friend. Like there's no and too emotional where they fall in love easy. They fall in love easily, and a woman can't trust a man who's not strong. So getting full circle to that is I learned how to be emotional. I mean, not emotional. I learned how to feel emotion but not become emotional, and then also be in control but not be controlling.
Exactly.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Very well said. Very well
right.
said.
So I'm going to stop and let you talk.
That's perfect. I don't know where to go with it. It's like, the masculine man and I had a lot of judgment for those guys when I was young because they were jerks. They mistreated women.
Right.
So I pushed that away. I was like, I'm not going to be that. But I didn't realize that I could be both. And so this is what women are experiencing too. So the polar opposite of the masculine male jerk is the naturally feminine woman who's a doormat.
Right. Exactly.
She doesn't have her power. So the masculine man who doesn't have his heart would be sort of the equivalent to the feminine woman who doesn't have her power.
See, and that's exactly it. So, what you teach, what I've picked up on, even just being in a group, and I invite you guys to go to the group. We'll say it at the end, is that, a woman has to know her boundaries. When if a guy cannot devote to her being vulnerable and radiant in her feminine, she's got all the authority and boundaries to say, fuck you and walk away. But as you said, the doormat and try to fix them, or being submissive in a way of being treated toxic, and that's the whole thing. And getting back to back to the polarity, fluidity, or the shift is like that woman want to be empowered, and I'm all for it. I mean, I believe we're spiritual beings into this body. We've come to this earth to experience it in whatever way you want, and you can have your players in life that will, consenting, do whatever you want, and then you just experience what you want as life. And a lot of women are choosing to go into male dominant, like sports. They want to be recognized as equals to males, and if your physical body can do it, go ahead. But then you get this whole chemistry and the hormones, and you get the what's that guy's name, Gray. Men Are From Mars, and he talks about the chemistry of what happens when a woman isn't too much in her stress, and she all the neurotransmitters and the hormones get inverted, and that leads to problems too.
It does. Very serious health problems. Yeah. And not every woman would have that. Like she might live her life, eating healthy and exercising and be okay, but there's still a toll on the body, a physical toll. And same with men when they're not masculine.
Oh yeah.
The more masculine I grounded in my core, the less sick I got. Like I don't live a purely healthy life. Like I still smoke a little and drink with the boys and go out and play poker. Like, I don't get drunk, but I have a couple of fun nights, like just have I live. I live like a normal person. And other than being a little overweight, but that was because I was feminized.
Mm-hmm.
My hormones got all,
Right.
it's a
It's all
hormonal thing.
hormones. Exactly.
I'm not overweight because of my lifestyle. I'm overweight because of my chemistry.
The cortisol and the stress hormone.
Yeah.
I found that when I was in my, after my marriage, I was in a 4-year relationship. I was common law, and my body, I had lower back pain. I was bloated. I had this gut distension. I was stressed out. I had anxiety. Like I was messed up because I wasn't in my power, and exactly, both men and women will have those effects of stress in their bodies. And speaking of the drinking, that's why a lot of people are drinking wine every night and addicted to all these things to kind of quell that and just to bypass all those things. So
I like a little alcohol occasionally because it brings me down. It's I see so much all the time, and it's wonderful for my creativity and it really, obviously, I'm in service. I'm in purpose. I'm in my purpose now.
Yeah, you were saying that.
So I'm on purpose every day, and I love that. So nothing drains me anymore, and I'm sharing my gift with the world now. But every once in a while, it's like, it's like it'd be nice to just stop.
Right.
And alcohol, couple of drinks, it lowers the level, so that I can just get
more grounded.
I can just be human again.
I found that too. Like I do a lot of different things, and when I do renovations or kind of things around the house, like I'm just, I get pain in my body, like I'm doing arduous, like hard work, and that totally connects me, back into my body, where you're up in your higher chakras or emotional centers, and you're just not grounded, and it's just stressed out. Now that takes me to let's go back to the other side, where the whole movement of empowering women, which I think it's been skewed a little bit, because the empowerment is different than what is being taught. And the thing is, go ahead.
Can I just rant about that?
Yeah, that's why I want to hear you. Like, I don't want to. I want to hear what you're saying and just want to say what I'm saying. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You've reminded me of something I shared with somebody in the group this morning. I think it was in the group. I can't remember where it landed, but a woman was saying that she thought what was really beautiful about her feminine was that she can be soft and gracious and be powerful too. And I was like, no, sorry, it's okay if you are that way, but you're not going to call being powerful feminine, because there's a sense inside of a woman when she feels her power, and that is grace.
Wow. That's wow.
Okay, so she's graceful. She's full of grace.
Yeah.
And there's a tremendous power in that. Like I've stated it publicly many times, that to me, that is the most powerful thing on the planet.
Oh, absolutely. It creates worlds, like the vessel of the worlds, right? Yeah.
But as soon as a woman utilizes that as power, it's masculine.
Okay, good. Now we're getting to we're about half an hour in now. Now we're getting into the nuts and bolts of this.
Right. And so this is the biggest problem, Frank, is because the women empowerment movement, I don't have a problem with women becoming empowered. I only have a problem with the deception that it's feminine.
Gotcha.
Okay. So if you want to have a career and be a high-powered woman, awesome. I'm happy for you, as long as you're not hurting yourself. But then we already talked about that. And we already talked about that earlier, a few minutes ago. But don't call it feminine, because that's a disgrace.
Disgrace and not full of grace.
Yeah.
Discharging the grace. And then they
Yeah.
got to go home. It depends on who they're with, take care of the house, get the kids to school. Like they got 2 jobs, 3 jobs now. And then they're really in stress and angry and resentful.
Heavy load.
Big. And I mean,
Yeah.
I can feel for a lot of these women now that have so much on their plate and they're stressed out.
Yeah, I have tremendous compassion for all of them. Like it's the way the world is right now is not healthy for women.
Absolutely.
And I want, my biggest sticking point is on this is that as long as a woman believes that it's feminine, she's that this power, this sense of power that she's able to push out into the world and create all of these things that are actually masculine, is as long as she's calling it feminine, she's going to be in judgment of her own masculine essence.
Wow.
She's not calling it what it is. And it's a dismissal. It's a disregard. And not to mention it's outside of truth. And masculinity is truth. There's a truth that exists that most people don't like to admit. I call it objective actuality.
Okay. Can you explain that?
So we all live in a world where we all have the same experience on some level. But because of our beliefs and our experiences in life and the perceptions that we had through those experiences because of the initial beliefs, new beliefs have piled on, more perceptions, more beliefs. We all end up with a subjective reality.
And its interpretation that is different.
Yes. Yeah. But behind all of that, behind every individual's subjective reality is an objective actuality that you can't deny without cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance will allow anything to be denied. Right. But so masculinity is truth. And when you get completely grounded in your masculine core, you will live in the objective actuality of life.
Gotcha.
And you can't be swayed. You can't be deluded. You can't be coerced. You can't be made to believe something that isn't objectively true.
And aren't those leadership qualities that the masculine is leadership? Do you need those qualities to be there?
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah. But what my point is that when a woman disgraces herself by calling her masculine traits feminine, then she actually denies her own masculinity and she will never integrate it. There'll always be something about herself that she's in judgment of.
That's amazing. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I can see how that, and that kind of ties into what we talked about earlier, where I truly believe that there's masculine and feminine energies within each one of us. And there was an early teacher from India. He started this whole kind of spiritual movement way back. And he said, that just resonated with me, and it's still forever, is that men bring out the hidden reason in women, and women bring the hidden emotion or kind of emotional intelligence out in men. But I think ultimately, right, we are our own twin flame. I don't believe in the twin flame stuff. I used to, but I think we are who we are looking for. And because we're in duality in this reality, that we are split in two, but we have both inside. But the whole spiritual to be awakening is to embody and integrate the masculine and the feminine within yourself. And that's what enlightenment, well, part of it is.
And that's when you say enlightenment, I say yes, but it's also embodiment.
Yeah.
You see, to me, the spiritual community would have you out here floating around in the ethers and not in your body and call that enlightenment. No.
Right.
Like there's, come down from the cave.
Yes.
You went and meditated in the cave for 40 years. Come down from the cave into the city and be amongst the people.
Be the householder again. Like get back to your balls, as I said. Right. And, we are human beings, and we're humans and we're beings. We can't be one or the other. If we're in this physical reality, David, we have to be both, integrate both. And you can also say that's the masculine and the feminine, right? You have the Shakti energy coming up to Kundalini, and then you have the Shiva coming down where they merge and they unite. They have a sacred marriage. Isis and is it Osiris and Isis? Jesus and Mary, like it's the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And going back to the beginning is I thought I needed to have a strong goddess woman energy because I was denying my masculinity. I was
all because we believed that the masculine guys were jerks.
Right, because that's the whole thing. And now look at media now. That's a beautiful segue to what I wanted to talk about now is that you look at media and you look at history, how they, I still don't know who they are, but quotes, have demonized the masculine, the patriarchy, the destruction, the control, burning women at the stake if they're empowered, and you look and I'm going to pick on movies in Hollywood and all this where they show that even in commercials I'm noticing it where the females are very strong and masculine and the guys are all like, okay, they're like very very emasculated and in their feminine. So there's an inversion going on. I don't know if you've noticed that, David, but I see it everywhere. Commercials, movies, and then it's okay for the man to stay home and cook and clean while the woman makes it, and that works for you, perfect. But as you said, chemically, and there's going to be something that's going to it's going to deteriorate, and there's going to be suffering there because we're not in our own essence, our own flow, our own natural state.
Yeah, one of the big perversions that I'll add to what you said, or there's the inversion.
Yes.
But part of the inversion is this perversion of our sexuality, where you can't go anywhere without seeing a sultry photograph of a naked woman in an advertisement.
Good point.
Or the suggestion of sexuality. And what that does to men is it keeps us stimulated. And I actually thought I liked it until I became 100% responsible for my emotions. And then I realized, hey, I don't want to feel sexual until I feel sexual.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to see all this crap out in society because it's a disturbance. It's like, I can instead of me looking at it and going, oh yeah, now I look at it and I go, oh, geez, because it's like I realize it's a manipulation of my energy.
Absolutely, that's a great point, David. Totally. I mean, yeah, and it's addictive.
And you don't, and it was like I liked it until I realized that I was wanting a woman to manipulate me sexually, wanting women to manipulate my energy, because deep down inside I was wanting to be manipulated. Right. So that was me making the justification.
It was a mirror.
Yeah. And so once that healed and I became more grounded, I realized all of these perversions and inversions that are out there just brainwashing society.
Exactly, yeah. You don't have to answer this. And I'm just curious.
I will anyway.
Awesome. So many men are addicted to porn. And and I'm going to share a story with you after your answer, or I can do it before, it doesn't matter. So is porn, the watching of porn, different for you? Has that changed, or is that, and I'm not asking you not to admit to you do it or not.
No, it's okay.
But how do you see porn?
No,
is it the same thing about being manipulated?
I don't mind talking about it because it's related. That's an excellent thing to bring into that because of what I said. I used to watch porn, and because I was very unhappy sexually with my partnerships, and I can't anymore. Like, sometimes I have buddies, I have guy friends, and all it takes is you go to Messenger and there's this link,
Right.
right? And they're my buddies, so I don't look at the link. I just hit it, and next thing you know, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
Jesus, I didn't really want to see that. So it's a little porn clip, and it's usually funny
Sure.
or something, but I don't want to see that. I don't. I do appreciate looking at old photographs of my last partner
Nice.
because I still feel love for her. Like, I'll always love her.
That's beautiful. That's the one that you felt her, right? Across the belly dancing one.
Yeah. The one that inspired devotion to surface. So I always will have this love for her, but I don't feel sexual towards her.
And there's no perversion there.
Right. Because she's gone. So to me, sex is either like real and it's physically happening, or it's an illusion in the mind.
Absolutely. As is most things in reality. It's just an illusion. Well, that's pretty cool. So this is my answer to what I said I was going to say before. And I'm not judging because we all have free will to do whatever we want. I've never been to, the rub and tug happy endings or hired sex. Even when I go with the boys, or even just when I was younger, going to strip joints, I was not aroused at all. I mean, they could be like 100 out of 100 are all around me. I will not get aroused, or, I won't even get an erection because there's nothing there for me. It's just a visual, it's just that kind of, as you said about the sexualization of everything, where someone touches me lightly, or they look at me and they have this radiance in their eyes. Yeah. Look out. It's over. Like I'm ready to go. And it's intangible, right? The
difference between usury and something that's real.
Right. Exactly. And, so do you find that the toxic male, or, because, I'd like to think that, learning that we're more than our bodies and that we're spiritual beings, that I'm not stuck in my lower chakras is, I mean, a woman can't manipulate me like that. I mean, you see some guys, they just see a boob and they're going to, even the whole thing of how a guy can rape another woman. If she's not there present for you and allowing, how do you get it hard? How do you even get aroused? I just can't believe, I can't even fathom it.
I've had these same questions, Frank. I'm glad to hear there's another man out there thinking the same way. It's like, I couldn't even.
I can't even think of that.
Yeah. As soon as like if I ever was that guy,
kill me. I'll kill you with this double murder suicide.
No. Yeah. No, but I mean, like if I ever crossed that line, like let's say I got frustrated when I was a teenager or something, it never happened. But if I ever had, as soon as I realized she was scared or uncomfortable, that would have been it. It would have been over.
Right. Because you're not in your toxic masculinity. You're here to protect her.
Yeah.
Not destroy her. Like, I mean, I've been in positions where a woman's been very drunk and I could have did whatever. I didn't. You just protect you. It's like, no, like, first of all, I don't want that sloppy stuff. And second, you're not in your feminine power. You're not into yourself. Like I'm not going to manipulate you. I'm not going to take advantage of you, because that's not what a man does. And I can't even, I was close to hitting my wife. Only once in my life I was ever going to strike a woman, my former wife. And she was just digging. And I was so mad. I made a fist so hard. And I'm just, her little face, I can still see it now. The rage that I had, David, I would just wanted just to throw it. And then, I mean, I couldn't, even in that rage, I hit the bedpost and I broke my knuckle on the wooden bedpost. So even that, to cross over the boundary of a woman, I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, this is one of the biggest things, that moment right there. I don't know if that was the defining moment for you or if there was other ones. That might have been just part of it. But what happened there for you was you created an inner boundary for yourself to protect her from you. And this is a turning point for men. This is what we teach for on the man side of things. We teach a lot of things to the women, but if a man doesn't have that boundary, then he's going to leak out in multiple ways, and it's going to cause harm to the relationship. So he might say some little thing that's got like a snide little twist to it, and she gets a little emotionally hurt, and this is where it gets confusing. It's like we are all fully responsible for our emotions and our feelings, whether we're aware of it or not, whether we actually take that responsibility or not. So what I just said was, she gets her feelings hurt a little bit, right? So she has to be responsible for how she feels, but he's still an asshole,
right? Exactly.
Right. So he's accountable. He has to be accountable and responsible for what he created, right?
To lead her back to feeling confident and
right. Yeah, she won't feel safe, and then that's the end of the relationship.
Done.
If he can't value her enough to not take these little digs and hurt her emotionally with intention, like it's those little snide little jabs that have an intention, And I see it. Like I follow this blogger because I'm thinking of I might like to move to the Philippines one day. So I watched some Philippine bloggers to get a sense of life there. And this American guy, just an ex-military guy from the U.S., found this little angel, she's literally an angel of a young woman. You can't help but fall in love with her as soon as she opens her mouth. Like she just
glows.
She's so endearing. Yeah. And she's just so sweet. But like I would never want to interfere with their relationship, but if she was single, man, I'd be on an airplane as soon as I could. And this guy just takes jabs at her. And over the months I've been watching them, I've noticed she's hardening. And I'm like, buddy, you're just destroying your relationship.
He doesn't even know it.
And it's his own little immature insecurities. So he can't contain it. So it's leaking out.
That's a good word, leaking out. Yeah. And going back to what we said about women needing to be masculine because they have to. Like, I mean, a lot of single moms, the guys are absentee. They have to be, the provider, the nurturer, the chef, the cleaner. Like, I feel sorry. Yeah. I mean, I have compassion for these women that have so much on their plate, and they see no other alternative but to be masculine, and men actually forcing them to be that way. And I was going to say something. I totally forgot what I was going to say. Oh my God. But anyway. There's so many things I want to say.
It'll come back.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story about that. Maybe it'll come back. So one of the clients that I've worked with, that Zach and I have worked with, she has some teenage boys. I think the youngest is 11 or 13, but there's a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old. And she was really worried because she's a single mom. And she did a pretty good job raising them on her own. I can't remember how long ago she got divorced, but it's been hard for her. And she was always seeking advice, and we were doing the best we could to help her out. And what's happened is, as the more feminine she became embodied, her sons, her older ones especially, have taken the lead.
Wow.
And they'll stop because it's their mom. So they're not just going to run ramshot over her life. They'll stop and ask her for guidance. Like they'll lead her to giving them guidance so that they can lead her properly.
Wow, that's amazing.
They're her own children. and like these are young men, and she's experiencing it. So she doesn't have a partner right now, but she knows she knows what to look for now. She knows how to vet the ignorant ones,
Right.
because the way that we teach them to communicate, the ignorant ones show up just
That's
like
amazing.
that, and then you can just shoo them away.
Wow. And that's one thing that I talked about. I think I talked about that in my first book, because that's all over the place. And is that, there's no sexual tension between a mother and her son. And the mother teaches the son to be a good boy, like like I believe a mother should teach their son respect and how to treat a woman, but a lot of it turns into a feminized man, because there's no sexual tension between a mother and their son. So she's teaching her like to be a nice guy, to be the friend zone guy, where right. So and then dads are not even in their own power. They're toxic themselves, so they can't teach their son to be in their power, how to treat a woman right. And the same thing works with the father and the daughters. Like there's a lot of manipulation from the daughters to the fathers, because nobody's really into their own awareness and their power. And it's interesting. Like I want to get back to when you said that we're not responsible. We are responsible for emotion. I've had in the recent past, actually, that I've been accused. Well, a woman would tell me, "You make me feel this way," and I say, "No, I do not make you feel this way. Don't put it on me." I mean, and I have this a little bit of let something out of the bag here. I'm on a couple of apps, the online dating apps, and this was after just being in your group and reading Zach's book. My tagline is, "Don't tell me what to do. Tell me how you feel. And it's up to me to be man enough to make it right."
I love it. That's brilliant.
I love it. It's like, I just patted myself on the back. It's like, and from that, David, I got it. I understood the game. It's not a game. It's a dance. It's like a salsa dance, right? And I'd love to have you on again, because we just scratched the surface of this, I think. And I mean, you have your curriculum, and you don't want to give away information that is not. You have to work on one-on-one now. But I'd be happy for you to come on and share again other parts of this if you're up to it.
Of course, I want to. Yeah, this is why I love talking about it, and I can talk about it all day. We do try to keep certain information
under wraps,
under wraps, so that we can have some income from our service, right? But there is a tremendous amount that I can share before we cross that line.
Now, quick question: as you said from the beginning of our episode here, is that you've come across certain information and aha moments within you three. Where did you, without giving away anything, where was the information, and how did it manifest? How did that information come to you? Was it through a collective? Was it through you found the magic well somewhere where you came from the Mount Sinai and you came down and the tablets were there? Like, how did it come to fruition? Because I'm curious about that.
Well, as I became more masculine to take care of this feminine woman that I was with, I wasn't completely grounded. I still had a little bit of codependency that I hadn't healed yet, because I hadn't healed the attachment abandonment wound, which I got to heal after she left. That's a long story, but a good one. And so after she left, as soon as I healed that wound, I just became completely grounded, like solid in my core, and I realized my masculinity for the first time.
Wow.
I was experiencing it, but it wasn't. I shouldn't say I actualized it. So I was realizing it, and then it actualized. Nice. And in that moment, Frank, all I had to do from that day on all I had to do was reflect on something. So I have my own experiences, and I've seen a lot of other people's experiences. I've been able to tune into a lot of other people's experiences. And all I have to do is be curious about something that I don't know. And within moments to a week, usually within a day, I get to see it.
Wow.
The truth just comes to me.
That's amazing.
It shows up in an experience. It shows up in something somebody says that opens my perception. It shows up.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so basically I don't read books anymore. There's nothing wrong with books. I just literally anything that I would like to know.
Download it because you're connected in your truth, in your power. Yeah, I mean, I've given away so many books. I wrote 2, but I don't even like reading. I have attention deficit disorder, I think, because I can't focus. I was like, well, I'm done. Great, David. I mean, we're hit the hour, and I don't know with the host site. I think it's an hour plus, but I'd love to have you back, and I had a great time with this. And did you want to give any more information on where people can follow more, and if anybody's interested in polarity? Because we haven't really. We've scraped the surface on this. I mean, we haven't. Again, there's a lot of people being triggered probably with what with what they heard, or they don't understand. Maybe they're curious to find out more.
I promise anybody that's having a hard time with this discussion that with all of the information, you'll relax. It's just when you see only a part of it, it can be triggering and it can be misleading. But once you understand everything that we're teaching, it's safe and it's real and it's good. It's the end of conflict in relationships. So how can it be bad?
Right, and that's amazing.
It's not some domination and subordination. It's not like that. It's love. It's just pure love. And so if you want to find us, look for me on Facebook, David Miller. Look for Zach, relationshipofyourdreams.com, and you'll find links to his Facebook pages where his membership sites are and where our courses and his course with Mark, and also there's a free group on Facebook that you can join as well and get a good sort of foundation. So yeah, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me on.
David, it's been an honor. Thank you very much. I'm just, this is wild. Thank you for joining me and the Ultimate Journey Awakening to Spirit podcast. Thank you for listening to the Ultimate Journey Awakening to Spirit podcast. Join me again next time for more spiritual talk. You can reach me at info@theultimatejourneyawakeningtospirit.com. And you can also visit my website, theultimatejourneyawakeningtospirit.com. Until next time, walk in love and in gratitude.